Good evening and warm welcome to all the participants. We are extremely happy to welcome you to this 166th WiseViews session. And in this session, we have requested Mr. Nagappan to join us. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Nagappan. He's already here. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for agreeing to speak with us. And I will, without much ado, make a brief introduction and then hand it over back to you for your opening remarks, sir. These are WiseViews leadership conversations, which we hold every Friday, and this is number 166. And we are extremely delighted to have Mr. V. Nagappan join us for this very important session on financial literacy. The financial literacy for all, bridging the knowledge gap in Indian households. That's the title. And so this introduction and opening remarks will be for the first 25 minutes. Then we'll have about 45 minutes of Q&A subsequently. So the format is largely based on interaction and questions that are very relevant to what we would like to learn from the topic. I hope we all will enjoy, and we'll begin this with introduction. It's my privilege to introduce Mr. Nagappan. He's a highly accomplished leader with a multifaceted career in finance, entrepreneurship, and corporate governance. He began his professional journey at ICFAI Papers and Boards as a management trainee and later joined the Chemplast Sanmar Group, overseeing the sales of PVC resins across Tamil Nadu. His entrepreneurial spirit led him to establish a 100% export-oriented granite monument business before entering the stockbroking industry in 1992, becoming a full-time broker 2 years later. Mr. Nagappan has held numerous high-profile roles, including serving as the immediate past president of the Hindustan Chamber of Commerce and chairman of the Federation of Indian Stock Exchanges in 2008. He was also a member of the SEBI's Secondary Markets Advisory Committee, contributing to key regulatory decisions impacting the Indian capital markets. His corporate experience includes directorships at Tamil Nadu Newsprint Limited, Tamil Nadu Power Finance and Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited, and Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation Limited. Beyond his corporate and policy accomplishments, Mr. Nagappan is a dedicated educator, serving as a visiting faculty member at prestigious institutions like IIM Trichy, IIT Chennai, and many other institutions where he shares his expertise on capital markets and financial regulations. Through his leadership, writings, and educational efforts, Mr. Nagappan remains a prominent figure in India's financial ecosystem. Additionally, Mr. Nagappan played a pivotal role in public policy as part of the high-level committee formed by Tamil Nadu government to create guidelines for disinvestment of state public sector units. He also chaired the Hindustan Chamber of Commerce Expert Committee on Economic Affairs, Insurance, and Banking. He is also an accomplished author, an articulate communicator and thought leader. He is a regular columnist in financial dailies and business magazines, covering topics such as capital market regulations, personal finance, tax planning, commodities, and currency futures. He has authored 6 books, compiling his extensive writings on these various subjects. Mr. Nagappan holds a gold medal in MBA from Annamalai University. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for agreeing to spare your time with us. I will also take one more moment to introduce my esteemed colleague, Professor Dr. R. Prasad. He comes with 3 decades of rich experience as an entrepreneur, as an academic, and a corporate professional as well. He holds BTech from IIT Bombay and PGDM from IIM Kolkata. Welcome, Dr. Prasad, and thank you very much for joining. I'll stop sharing the screen. Thank you very much, sir. This is a very interesting and curious topic for all of us. The more, the better. And in fact, the gaps are small, but gaps are very crucial. Those gaps look very small, but they're very, very crucial for us in understanding. It is not just at the level of youngsters, not just at the level of households, but as a country, at large, we need to understand and fill the gaps that are existing in terms of understanding planning of finance and financial literacy to start with, and thereby leading to some kind of impact on economy. Over to you, sir. I request once again to initiate your lecture on this very interesting topic. Over to you, sir. Once again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sri Sudhakar Rao and Dr. Prasad and ICFAI for inviting me to the event. I was looking at the illustrious list of speakers who have spoken before me. And so the topic what I have chosen is one of my favorite topic, and it's on financial literacy, which is very, very important in the current scenario. So let me take you through a small PowerPoint presentation, and then we can interact. So why this is my favorite topic? Because this is what we believe. We have a charitable trust where we do courses on financial freedom to self-help groups in and around Madurai. For lack of resource persons, we could not do it beyond that, but in and around Madurai district, we do for self-help groups and government schools, colleges and teachers. We do this on financial literacy. So now let me start with some basic thing like, many people misunderstand financial literacy in a different way, but I'm going to talk about financial literacy just to set the context right. I'm going to talk about the personal finance and individuals, it's related to individuals. That's what we are going to talk. We're not going to talk about the cash flow or fund flow of any companies or anything else. So this is basically what we are going to talk about. And history has proved that people with knowledge have an edge over others, and people with additional knowledge lead others. And FinLit in particular, at this point of time, it's become very important. Not only this point of time, it was important earlier, but we never realized it because there was certain security available, like a joint family system was there. Government was there to take care of many things. But today the situation is changing. How it is changing? We'll take a look at it. We are looking in a VUCA world, and this kind of volatility, today the market was very bullish, and I was sitting in the market right from 126 to 136. Within that 7-8 minutes, the Sensex fell down by 1,100 points. So until then, the market was very bullish. Nobody realized what is happening, and people are, wondering if it can fall within 2-3 minutes, 1,100 points. Can it go down another 1,000 points, 2,000 points? But then very soon it recovered. So in a day, within a few minutes, the fall is more than 1,000 points, and recovery is close to 1,000 points. So that's how. It's just to give an example, but there are many such uncertainties. Market is known for uncertainty, but outside the market, where things were very stable, fairly stable earlier, now things are changing. So how is it changing? See, when I joined, Sudhakar was mentioning about my career. I joined Chemplast. My boss told me that as long as you're honest, you will never lose your job. He said if you work hard and if you are intelligent and smart, you will get a promotion and increment, but we'll never sack you. That's the context. But today, no company can tell anybody that kind of guarantee is gone. So hire and fire is the norm, not because the company want to sack us, but the change in technology. When artificial intelligence comes, either the companies like TCS train them, cross skill them or upskill them. If they cannot do it, then they're left with no other option to reduce the cost. So hire and fire is the norm, and there are skill sets issues. So constantly upskilling and cross skilling is required. Unlike I completed my graduation and I joined employment. I never thought that I'm going to learn forever. But today, every once in 3 years, we keep writing NISM exams, NISM certification courses on various things. Whether it is derivatives, whether it is securities operations and risk management. So every 3 years, the certificate is valid only for. So upskilling and cross-skilling and updating ourselves has become very much an essential. So the constant spending is also there. And in such a scenario, how the population is. You look at India, for first time in the last 20-25 years, people have started seeing money. Who is seeing money? The people from the semi-urban and rural area, they are seeing money. And when the money goes to their pocket, it is not going to go to the bank. It's going to be spent. And first time they are seeing something better happening. So the habit of spending has gone up. And with this hire and fire norm, once the youngsters are used to this kind of spending and suddenly they lose their job, there is a withdrawal symptom. So that's they're addicted to something like you drink a coffee, you keep on drinking coffee. Otherwise, you get a withdrawal symptom. So same thing happens. And there is a spending competition at home. If son is spending and father is asking him, then mother says that you're also spent, you have spent something else. So I mean, there is a spending competition at home, at neighborhood, everywhere. Nobody is trying to save. This is very obvious from the savings data which was released a couple of weeks back. And financial savings has, or both physical savings has come down drastically. Added to this, there is inflation on one side, though it's very much under control in India for the time being, but it's on higher base of last year. So, but taxes. Now, taxes, many may wonder the taxes are generally coming down. It has not gone up in the last so many years. But then the problem is that, to be honest, The middle class, or not only middle class for that matter, many of them, they pay taxes only now. Now, you may wonder that why do I make this statement? Most of the purchases were happening outside the purview of when there was no GST, when there was VAT and SENVAT and state VAT, sales tax and central excise was there. A lot of people are not paying taxes. Evasion was there. But now I think it has become more and more transparent. And as you could look at the effect of UPI, the effect of GST and GST number with the PAN number in between linked to your Aadhaar card and the PAN bank account. I think now all these things has increased, doubled the number of taxpayers. The tax collection has gone up. They were yesterday, the advanced tax collection figures have come. It has gone up by almost 16 or 17%, I think. So the taxes, people are not used to many, not, I'm not accusing or I'm saying everybody, but there are, when somebody is building a house, when he goes and buys, iron, steel, cement or whatever, the cement you cannot do that. There are many other products where this was happening inadvertently without people realizing. But now everything is formalization of economy has happened. So the expenses are going up on one side. Not only inflation, there is a lifestyle inflation. Like prior to 2020, none of us were planning to have a mask, wear a mask or a hand sanitizer or various other things. Today we have. 20 years back, I never thought I'll be buying water. Today we are buying water. And 10 years back, we never thought we need a air purifier at home. Today, people you ask people in Bombay and Delhi, they know every room has got a air purifier. So these are all lifestyle inflation. And apart from this is not even lifestyle inflation. I mean, I'll go one step further saying these are become essentials. And lifestyle inflation is buying, when you can buy a car of 5 lakh, you buy a car of 10 lakhs. So, and as you could see through their newspaper advertisements today, most of them don't advertise the price of a mobile phone. They advertise only the EMI, which means, if your affordability is 10,000, they say that the phone price is maybe 1.5 lakhs, but they say EMI is 10,000. So this is one way of selling. And added to all these things, moderating returns on investments. As the market matures, the returns generally moderate. We have seen this in many developed countries, except a few spurts in between. The return starts moderating. So with inflation on one side, taxes on another side, and returns moderating, and with, very importantly, in the recent past, complicated investment products. For example, we never thought a retail investor will apply 10 years back or 15 years back when I was working with NSE to launch SME platform from our Madras Stock Exchange. It was meant for ultra high net worth investors or high net worth investors to start with. Today, even retail investors, many of them participate in SME platform where a two-wheeler showroom with single showroom with 8 people, they come out with IPO. It's a democratization. It is in a way it is good, but in a way it is also bad because the disclosure norms are little lenient in case of SME. And when retail investor comes in, whether we don't know, he's looking at that 1 week. SEBI studies tells us that they hold on to the stocks for 1 week and then within a week, more than 50% of them sell it and get out. So more and more complicated products are coming, alternate investment funds and structured products and REITs. And these kind of products are coming, which are comparatively new in the last 5-6 years. So in such a scenario, financial literacy is very much essential for everyone. And now financial literacy for all is the goal. Now, why is it becoming even more important apart from the reasons I listed out earlier? It reduces the dependence of citizens on the government for each and everything, which has been happening in the past, but citizens cannot be blamed. But that was because of the economic situation prevailing in the country. And government too benefits, and in my opinion, government benefits a lot out of this financial literacy in a way. And the budgetary expenses may come down over a period of time and resulting in reduced deficit for the government too if the financial literacy is embedded in the minds of the public. But the challenge is, and why we need it is another reason is there is a dropout. The dropout rate was even more higher earlier. Now it is slowly coming down in the school education dropout. 20%, more than 20% 2 years back. I don't have the data for the last year, but it continues to be around this range. And particularly in certain states, the dropout rate goes up to 48% or 49%. Now, with this kind of dropout, and also the difference when you look at UNDP's index, Human Development Index, which says that the mean years of schooling in India is 6.7 years, whereas a comparable basis, China and Brazil stand at 7.6 and 8.6 years, which means an average Indian has got about 6.5 years worth of formal education, whereas in these two countries, It's between year and year and a half more. And India is ranked 132 behind both China and Brazil out of the 191 countries. Of course, these rankings are questionable many times. We have seen it in the past, but just take it as it is. 1.3 lakh children dropped out of school in the TN Tamil Nadu last year alone, and the number is much more in certain states, lesser in certain states. It varies. Now, the question is, what happened to these dropouts? This is the concern of the government, and this is where the financial literacy comes in. Most of the schools at the school level, when they drop out, they have learned much more than what they need to use in their entire life. For example, something like calculus. I'm not against algebra or calculus, but they've learned. But most of the school education does not, teach them about how to handle their finances, which is a life skill. Now, what happens? They either they become unskilled labor or semi-skilled. They end up getting some semi-skilled jobs, or some small businesses. Now, for example, they start as a driver, and over a period of time, they take a bank loan. They own a car. They repay the loan, and they buy 2 cars, 3 cars, employ a couple of them, and then after some time, you see them. He has become, he sold all the cars and he's become a driver again. Why this happens? This is basically the lack of financial literacy at school level, and it results in suicides. Many end up with small businesses which they are not able to manage. And yesterday I was in a place called Namakkal, and I was talking to one of my friends. His driver has committed suicide yesterday morning, and he was trying to do some small business about 2 3 years back. He could not manage it, and ended up with a lot of debt, and doesn't know how to manage the finance. And this is going to be a major problem in the future too, if it is not handled properly. People don't know how to manage their cash flow or fund flow. The reasons are, either no doubt they are hardworking, and but they're not smart. The financial discipline is lacking, and the moment they have a floating cash, they think that is permanent and they spend, and it's not saved. And even if it is saved, it is not invested properly. And sometimes they end up borrowing more looking at one proof of concept. They think that it is replicable, and without proper financial planning, they borrow more and expand, and without doing any cost benefit analysis. And it's a business based on overconfidence and gut feeling than numbers. Now, this is where the skill set needed is, anybody who want to be successful in business need good communication skills. Let it be whatever be the language. It can be Japanese, Hindi, India, whatever be the language, but good communication skill is needed, and the basic arithmetics. If these two with the discipline and the thing are there, I think they can be successful. But the schools teaches all these things, but they don't teach it in a format what is needed to survive in this world. It should not be a bookish knowledge. That's where the problem comes in. Now, what is the role of the regulators and government? Because they want financially responsible citizens. Otherwise, we will become like many other Western nations, which has, we all know what kind of financial situation the country is in and the individual citizens are in. So we don't want to become one like that. So what is the role of the regulators and government? They are in the process of educating school students. They have categorized in, for example, SEBI has categorized them into 6 categories: school students, college students, teachers, and people who are employed, and then businessmen, homemakers, and also retired pensioners are also there. Have added employers. So these are various. This is not a comprehensive list, but these are the people who have to be educated at various levels, not only at BPL families, but also lower middle class and middle class of the people. And key stakeholders here, regulators. Now, RBA, SEBI, and IRDA, and PFRDA. Now, NSE and the market infrastructure, intermediaries like BSE, CDSL, NSDL, MCX. All these people have done a wonderful job, and they are doing wonderful job. So, what kind of work is being done by them? I'll have few slides. I'll show what is happening in this space. I was involved in some of this, like NCFA, National Center for Financial Education, initial stages. When it was formed, I've done some work for them, like translating some of their content into regional language, Tamil and vernacular. This was set up by as a Section 8 company under Companies Act 2013 by all the 4 financial sector regulators: IRDA, PFRDA, SEBI, and RBI. Because they've been duplicating and replicating work, so they wanted to do as a focused, spend the money in a focused manner. So they formed this NCFE, and the basic purpose is to undertake basic financial education programs, develop content, and publish it online. With they have, if you go to their website, you can see a lot of interesting PowerPoint presentations, and right from how to take a demand draft or how to operate an ATM machine. From there, they start everything. So this kind of content is there already. You can see in ncfe.org.in. And the other one is National Strategy on Financial Education. They have a policy 2020 to 25. This was again it's a collaboration between various regulators and stakeholders to promote financial inclusion, and the aim is to empower individuals across society to manage their personal finances effectively. So, just to quote a few examples. Now, this is the RBI's financial education initiative. In this website, you can see the kind of the work they have done, and they classify this into three: FAME, which is financial awareness messages, and the second one is financial literacy, Ideathon, which is the program they conduct for college students. Even current year, I think they've announced it for college students. And then the third one is Centers for Financial Literacy and Financial Literacy Centers, jointly promoted with banks in a particular region to teach people about, not many people were not aware of even nomination facility or what is the legality of nomination facility, all these things. So banks are doing, they've just started doing these kind of things now, financial literacy centers. And this is what I mentioned, financial literacy ideathon. They're asking for ideation paper on money matters for young adults. And we'll be surprised if you go to RBI website, if some of you have not seen it, they have published comics and cartoons are there, comics are there on, the money tree. They created a character called Raju, and what is money, what is opportunity cost, what is interest, why do we charge interest? So for even for school children, because everything starts at school level and college level. World over, if you look at it, the financially successful communities, I don't want to name them, but you know whom I mean, but financially successful communities, they give equal importance to the financial literacy at home, by involving the children at the age of 10, 12, 15 in their own businesses in an indirect way and slowly making them very comfortable with certain financial terms. But many of us don't do that as much as importance what we give for academic or college or school-based education. So either the schools and colleges should take this as mandatory, and then only I think it will happen. Otherwise, the ecosystem should be like that. So this RBI has done a wonderful job. And they've also done it in various languages. Look at this. This is the same comics in Tamil, and they've published in 13 Indian languages. But the challenge here is that probably is with the regulators also, they've not taken it properly to the people. Probably, I don't know, but or they must have tried their best. This is the book which I have translated into Tamil. It's called Pocket Money for the high school students, the students from 9th standard to 12th standard. And this book was in English, but developed by NISM, National Institute of Securities Market. And I have done the translation into Tamil, and one of my friends did it in Telugu also. There are various other languages, I think it is done. And SEBI recently, they had an investor website earlier also, but I think the recent one is really good and very good. And if you look at it, various issues are there. I mean, they have, again, PowerPoint presentations, content related to money matters, the basics, and how the security market function. And another one is the financial calculators. You want to use do retirement calculator, or you want to do financial planning. All these things are available. These kind of calculators, when you look at interest calculators, EMI calculator, retirement planning, cost of delay, and net worth, financial goal planner, power of compounding. All these calculators are available in SEBI's website today, and very useful also to any common man. So SEBI has done a wonderful job, and SEBI has also published the set of resource persons available. So you can, any one of, if you want to do a program for your school children or a college or in a locality for housewives, you can call them. Their contact coordinates are given there. You can call them. They don't charge you anything. SEBI takes care of their payment. They will come and do the program at your place. But again, the reach, I think for somehow, this has a better reach than RBI, but still, I think a lot of things has to be done in spite of the repeated efforts and a lot of money being spent by SEBI on this. The reach is still not much. Then this is IRDA's website, when you look at the education website. It's called Policyholder. The website is policyholder.in, I think, right? So there, once you go there, they have, again, it's a very interesting website, though there are certain issues which I will talk about it in all the this financial literacy program. So how to buy an insurance, what is the premium, why do we charge high premium or low premium for different policies, what is endowment, how to make a claim, and various things are available. And these are all, on life insurance, health, motor insurance, property insurance, travel insurance, how to make a complaint. All these things are available in a simple language, again in different languages. This is one of the comics available on motor insurance, why it should be taken and how it should be taken, and the process. All these things is explained in a very nice way. There are issues in translation. I will talk about that later. When good things happen, let's appreciate it, but then it can always be improved, because some good people were there at helm at that some point of time. They felt it is necessary, and they've done a great job. But now it has to be taken forward. And this is NCFE, which I spoke about it earlier, National Central for Financial Education. NCFE is there. And these are some of the modules available there in NCFE. What is an economic indicator? How important it is? And how do they calculate? If it is WP, how do they calculate it? What are the components? What is the base year? What is the difference between WP and CPA? See, these are all the things which, because the financial literacy does not end only with how to make money. Now, what is behind it, how economy functions, how global economy functions, what is the root cause of various things. I think these are all the things which is needed, how scams happen and how to avoid it. So it's not only simply, simple interest and compound interest. So I think that way this takes care of many things. Now, coming to the private sector part of it, I think I have 5 more minutes. So the private sector part of it, this is one private, somebody in, Gyarapati Adivasi Ashram School. They have done something. They train the students with 5 rupees. They queue up and they deposit, and the passbook is given. I remember when we were all young, there was a scheme called Sanchayika or something, I think, if I'm right, that was there. And there is another one very important effort taken by another organization, Aflatun. It's in Maharashtra. They started in government schools, but now they've gone private. They're doing everywhere, whoever approaches them. One of that particular thing is that on entrepreneurship, budgeting, spending, it's all meant for school children, not even for college students. And what is entrepreneurship? What is business, career planning, negotiation skills, how to start a business, all these things in a simple language, they talk about it for the school children. Okay, I want to repeat it again. It is for school children. If you look at the content, it is amazing. They put it in a very nice manner. So it's a charitable organization, but also they do other initiatives. There are a few other which are doing. This is the Federal Reserve, like RBI. Even before all these people came in, Federal Reserve had a specific website for kids, for the children, for them to learn various things, classroom resource material, and material for the educators, material for the students, and material for the parents and public. So this is Federal Reserve education material. So, and yeah, now their Aflatun's idea is life skills and education, financial education for peace. This is their thing. Now, what are the challenges ahead? People don't think that it is a life skill. Now, that is a challenge. As I mentioned, the world successful, financially successful communities, if you take them, they give equal importance to financial literacy as they give importance to college education or school education, because they think that this is an important life skill. And then second is, it's always thought about as an extracurricular activity. If you have time, then just learn something about it. It's optional. It's not a must. Whereas somebody like me who was brought up in a different environment, I cannot tell my father that tomorrow I have an exam. I cannot go to the bank to deposit a dividend warrant. I have to go and do it, and then he'll say that do this and study. So it's an ecosystem. So it's not optional. It is a must. And what is needed is, I was talking to mutual funds and also insurance companies. In fact, there is a court order which was published, saying that you have taken signature in the forms which is written in English and Hindi. And the person who has signed that form doesn't know what for he is applied, then you have taken a signature and used it. It's quite obvious that he is not literate. So these kind of things happen, and wrong policies are sold, wrong mis-selling happens in mutual funds, in ULIPs, in all these things. In fixed deposits, the nominee name is written in a different name. People don't give their mail ID. So all these things happen because of lack of financial literacy and lack of other side education, also school education. That's one problem. The other problem is lack of financial literacy, telling them that not to sign on dotted lines, not to sign wherever into mark is there, not to say simply I agree, like we click in any terms and conditions, agree online. So we should not. So the importance of that has to be taught to them. And simple translation is needed. Simple translation is needed, and not transliteration. I will show you one example after this slide. One, I think the last but one slide. I'll show you that. But transliteration, most of them use either Google Translation, or they go to somebody who has done a PhD in that particular language, who will always be correct in the way he translates. Okay, so they will be correct, but will it reach out to the concerned audience? No, that's a problem. So we have to, we cannot simplify it too much also. We cannot, write it, translate it in a local language. It has to be somewhere in between. We have to strike a right kind of a balance in communicating. That is very important. I have pointed this out to some of the regulators and the people at over that when the advertisement released in the local language, it conveys a totally different meaning. And what kind of, it should not, that's not the basic purpose. So then the last one is train the trainers. That's again big challenge. Training the trainers and training the parents. When pocket money was launched 15 years back with the help of NISM in our stock exchange, we launched three books, 8 chapters into 24 books. So one 8 chapter was for the school child, but the other 8 was for same for the teacher how to teach. It is financial literacy is not something that you ask someone to mug up or someone to read and come and answer my question. So you have to ask question and then leave a space, allow the child or the student to answer, allow him to think, and then come back. So we were teaching how to teach. Then we also conducted 2-day course for them in a stock exchange. So 50 corporation school teachers came and attended the program. And the parents, we give one set of books to the parents also, because once they go back home, what to ask, what not to ask, how to create, their creativity. So these are all the things should be done. It's not just taking a classroom activity. Now, the translation part, I'll just show you. I think many of you may not be able to read this, but I can tell you that this is in English, and the what is behind this in Tamil. And it says the discovery of insurance ombudsman. Now you think about discovery of insurance ombudsman in English gives, of course, in English itself it gives a different meaning, but that's okay. But we will understand that. But if you literally translate that into Tamil, what they have mentioned there is that it is like a scientific discovery. That's how it is mentioned there. So this is a problem in translation. Many such things, below that also. Like applying for, your cashless facility. You're going to them. That's mentioned in the wrong way in Tamil. So this is very important that the translation should happen in a proper manner. So with this, I conclude, and I once again thank ICFAI and Sudhakar Rao and Dr. Prasad for giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk about one of my favorite subjects. And I have done more than 1,000 programs throughout Tamil Nadu, and most of this is not based on any formal study. Whatever I have spoken is from my observation in this part of the country. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. That's a great presentation on the landscape of financial literacy and what are the players that are available from government, from agencies, regulators, and NGOs as well, including private players, and what kind of roles each one is playing. But the discovery is here that there's a lot already there. I think this presentation has, apart from many things, has rekindled some kind of a hope that there's a lot being done by many regulators already, and one has got an insight into knowing that while it is there, one should actually go back and see it and harness what's already available. In addition to that, I think explaining these intricacies when the market and when the situation around us is so uncertain, I think it makes all the sense for us to prioritize financial literacy and learn from what's available. I think the mantra that you mentioned is that financial literacy should start from pretty young age, like many financially successful communities undertake that. It's a mindset issue, and therefore I think parents will have to prioritize that and make sure that all of us are financially literate and sound in understanding these things. For a large part of other communities, actually speaking, these are new jargons which hit us pretty late, and sometimes there is a mindset that doesn't open it to look at some of these new things, and it is seen as a sidekick, and therefore unconsciously one is probably losing a lot of money just because that awareness is not become a priority, even though the individual is academically growing in other senses like domain areas that one is actually studying. So it's a beautiful intervention that is already there. And thank you very much, sir, for helping us look at what is already there and what needs to be even handled as challenges are existing. And parents need to be roped in apart from all these agencies that you have talked about. Wonderful. This lowdown is very, very useful for us, and it sets a beautiful context for us to take it forward in terms of the Q&A starting from here. Given the nature of the topic, we'll focus largely on questions and answers. And what we'll do is we'll have two clusters of Q&A. The first cluster will be taken up by Professor Prasad, and I'll come back for the second. And during my cluster, I will open the mic largely for those enthusiastic participants who are already raising hands. And a word about the participants is that today a large number of people have joined from all parts of the country. There are academicians, there are people from media, there are people from abroad as well. There are people who are chartered accountants and practicing chartered accountants also have joined. I welcome all of them. And I also want to thank Mr. Pattabiram for recommending your name. We are quite grateful to him. He's a very good friend and well-wisher of ICFAI. We are joined by our senior professor, Professor Mahendra Reddy. Welcome, sir. And I welcome all the members who have joined this evening. We'll have a very interesting Q&A now. I request Professor Prasad to commence.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Thank you, sir, for giving us a wonderful introduction to the topic. Let me start with a question. A lot of this problem happens because there's too much of knowledge in it and, too less of emotion. So let me start from your side. You did mention in one of your, one of the points that your father would force you to do this rather than that. So how can you recount your journey where you seem to have taken on this almost like a mission, given the number of programs you have done and the kind of work that you do?
See, up to a certain point, until I was 35, 40 years, I never realized that we had the skills at all. We have taken many things for granted. But then when you start moving with people, you find them struggling with finances, struggling with the basic financial, lack financial literacy. Then you realize that you are gifted to grow in such an environment where you are trained well without you realizing. So now then that's when I started sharing my experience with others. Just to quote one example, how they don't call us, father doesn't call me and train me. He will give me a job. He told me to go and deposit. Let's say that for an example, it really happened. Give me some 5,000 rupees, go and deposit in the bank and come back. Always put an entry in the passbook. Now, when the moment he gives me money, he will ask me to check it. So I'll just act as though I've checked it, in front of him. It's 5,000 rupees. I'll go and deposit it and come back. So when I go to the bank, once it happened, it was only 4,900 rupees. And 100 rupees was short. So I came back and told my father. My father said, "No, you're a thief. You've stolen that 100 rupees." And the whole day I could not sleep. Next day morning, he called and told me that I only gave you 100 rupees less. You have to count and take it from whoever it is. So this is one small example. Whether I take it from my wife or my wife takes it from me or I take it from her, somewhere when they give the money, we always count it and take it. So this is like this. There are many such incidences which happen where we learn without us realizing. In fact, I've tweeted some of my experience in my Twitter handle also. If time permits, later we can talk about it.
Thank you, sir. There's quite a bit to discuss there, but we are short of time, so I'll move on to the next question. You have given us quite a bit of landscape from what the regulators are doing. Now, if you look at this whole thing, all these are meant to go to certain goals and benefits for various sectors, for banking, for insurance, for stock exchanges, etc. Now, while financial literacy is compulsory and necessary in doing that, is there anything else which is missing after this is done? I mean, okay, we go out and do the literacy programs, but are there other aspects, behavioral aspects, stakeholder related aspects? Would you like to throw some more light on that?
See, the challenges I see is three. One is all the regulators and all of them have done a great job of creating a content. There was a problem of updating them. If you look at RBI and IRDA website, updation is needed in some of the content which they have created. But SEBI is constantly updating that way. The second problem is delivery and reach. How do they deliver, what modes they use, and how do they deliver it to people? There is a challenge in the distribution network because they want to use people who don't have conflict of interest. Now, if I'm a SEBI regulated entity and I'm in the business, they don't want me to handle the sessions of delivering these kind of lectures or whatever it is, because I would always have a conflict of interest. I would be soliciting business, whereas this financial literacy is not for soliciting business, but to educate people. So there should not be any conflict of interest. There is a challenge because the people who know the subject thoroughly well are the intermediaries. But we are using people who don't have that kind of a practical knowledge. But the basic point of the regulator is correct. There should not be any conflict of interest. So there somewhere some work has to be done, some interaction should happen, and how to handle that is needed. Then the third point is the involvement of parents. I see a utter lack of interest in that point, in spite of government and all of them doing so many things. 30 years back, when my father wanted to know where to invest, he will call a broker in a Bombay and stock broker and ask him. Or he will ask the message or information from Chennai. But today, everything is available online. The instant the message reaches somebody in Bombay or Delhi or Calcutta, it reaches me also almost instantly, same time. So the parent or the students complaining that there is a asymmetry in information dissemination or knowledge, I think that is wrong, but there is a mental block. Now the behavioral problem is this. One small example I can tell you is that let you just find out from the students after completing the +2, how many of them they filled the college application form themselves. Then you will come to know. Most of the parents don't, or at least whom I have come across in this part of the country, they don't allow the student to fill up because they say that if he fills up wrongly, then they will end up losing the. So they don't even allow him to take that risk. Whereas we all grew up in a situation where we did everything, whether the right or wrong, the problem is on my head. Then the responsibility is on me. So there is a behavioral issue there too this angle. That's what I feel.
Thank you, sir. From there, I move on to the next aspect. There are many players in those sectors. I mean, the insurance companies, the banks, the mutual funds, the financial services. There doesn't seem to be anything much that you mentioned about them, but this is their business. So to the extent that they need to use financial literacy to expand their market shares and penetrate the market, insurance, we've been talking about it for umpteen years. So in every angle, what are these sectors doing? What do you think they should be doing, or why are they not doing what they should be doing?
See, if you look at all the three regulators, I'm not talking about pension fund. Let us leave that aside for a moment. If you look at other three, insurance, banking, and capital market, the capital market side, they have done a wonderful job. No doubt they can do even more because the funds available is larger. This thing, they can spend a couple of crores every day. To that extent, the money is available with all the five intermediate, market infrastructure institutions and the regulator. So they can do, but they have done a great job. They do regular meetings, regular investor awareness programs, and through investor associations as well as various other bodies. They have also developed content which is updated. Okay, but the problem with insurance and banking side is that many people still don't know, how many awareness programs are conducted by banks and insurance companies purely for awareness purpose. Most of them do, see, all of them, sometimes they do for marketing, sometimes they do for purely academic purpose, awareness purpose. SEBI has made it very clear that the investor awareness program should be done only for awareness purpose, not for marketing purpose. The other two, they have not done enough, in my opinion. They can do much better. There is lack of knowledge on various things related to banking and related to insurance. So there, I think there is a tremendous potential and tremendous opportunities are there for educators as well as for the regulators as well as for the intermediaries. They should be doing that. I fail to understand why they have not done it and why they are not doing it. I may be wrong, but this is my observation.
Thank you, sir. You have given us one area where perhaps there's quite a bit of potential, and that leads me to the next question. Somewhere in one of your slides, you've also looked at this hackathon kind of thing that one of those regulators had announced. Now, if I put all the MBA students around, I mean, they may be from different types of programs in the country. And I would say, is there entrepreneurship potential in this gap that you're talking about? Can you suggest 3 pain points where they can kind of, investigate or examine to understand whether they can take up some scaled up ventures or at least, do well? Can you suggest some 3 areas where perhaps, they can look at it, study it?
So there are tremendous opportunities, particularly in vernaculars. In my opinion, if you look at in English, enough work is done. But in regional languages, at least the top 5 to 6 Indian languages, I think there is a tremendous potential to be done. There is a personal finance magazine in Tamil which used to sell much more than the combined circulation of Business World, Business India, and Outlook Money. And even today, on online presence, they have a much larger presence because of the regional language exposure. So there is a tremendous potential in that area, particularly in vernacular, and more so than in writing. It's more in podcast and other areas, online videos. So there it is there, but I think it is also misused grossly. I mean, many people misuse the YouTube or other channels under the guise of education. That's why SEBI is very concerned about the influencers. They call it financial influencers. So just to tell one example, the books which we have written along with my friend Pugalendi. Pugalendi is from IIT Bombay, and we have written 6 books. And the combined sales of this book is more than 1 lakh. And this book is written in Tamil on derivatives and commodity trading and on portfolio management. Nobody would have thought that these books will sell 1 lakh copies in Tamil, but that is where, had I written it in English, I'm not very sure it would have sold 10,000 copies or 5,000 copies. But so there is a potential in vernacular language and teaching people about various things. At least in here in Tamil, that is proven. In various Gujarati, it is there, and in various other languages now slowly it is picking up. That is one area. The second one could be it can happen only if the regulators, market infrastructure institutions, and intermediaries, all three sit together and talk among themselves, and then they try to do something. They can do wonderful job. Tens of thousands of crores of money is available in their kitty as investor education protection fund, which should be put to use, which should be used properly. If in case if they don't trust an individual or a private corporate organization, probably they can tie up with somebody like you, ICFAI, and they can try to do something at that level. I think it will be very good because we need. You see that one set of people in Assam last week. I'm sure you must have seen that news. One person, 2,200 crores. He has promised a guaranteed return or something in equity market, and he has collected 2,200 crores, and now he's arrested. It's a scam. How can these kind of things happen still, even after repeated warnings, repeated? So it's a lack of financial literacy on one side, and inflation and change in lifestyle and increasing cost of all these things forcing people to do certain things in short-term basis. So this only financial literacy can save them. Financial literacy not only can save them, it can also save the government and save the regulators and save the businesses.
Excellent, sir. You have given us two openings which can be studied by students or those who are in this particular sector, and then like you have leveraged, or this you mentioned a magazine or in a website or online content which has leveraged, which people can pursue. And also I think the field is set for the second idea that you mentioned about the three sitting together investment the investor protection fund. Currently, for simple thing like the retail investments in derivatives versus stock fund, there is so much of talk about it, but ventures which go into seeing that the money gets shifted or some initiative which does that, there's not much. I think you have suggested a good idea about okay, have mentors also and see that the work is getting done in a proper fashion. Thank you very much, sir, for opening the doors for us to understand some of this a little better, so that people can pursue this matter. I hand the session back to Professor Rao.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you very much, sir. It looks like more demystifying a few things that are surrounding financial planning and financial literacy as far as households is concerned, as far as common man is concerned. I think a large part of it lies with the impression that it is very complicated, and I think that also has to be quelled. I will now take more questions from the audience if they raise their hands. Before they raise their hands, I'll ask one simple question, sir. Is there a way to measure the financial literacy? We have a way to measure education and normal general literacy, but is there a way to measure financial literacy of a country? And if so, how does financial literacy in India compare with the financial literacy of other countries? Yeah, would you like to make any comment to explain this to us, sir?
See, I don't have any data to tell you that or talk about that, but I think it is a good area where if I can, people like with all those things can work on it and do a research on this part because it is very important. The regulators can join hands with you and try to do a study on this because a proper study is needed. But my feeling is that there are two sets of people in India. One who are very knowledgeable and very smart as far as financial literacy goes. The other set of people who think that that is not needed at all for me. So that's the challenge. So these two diverse set of people are there, and how to handle them, that is very important. One thing. Somebody has asked a question about regulator. Can I take it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. So somebody asked a question that how to with multiple allegations on SEBI, how a common people have trust and start investing in the situation. So let me answer. It's a very good question in the sense that this will come in each and every individual. We do a podcast on a daily basis. We get a lot of questions on this particular angle. But in spite of that, investors do invest. When all these things are going on, Bajaj House Finance, you know how much of subscription it got. They wanted less than 7,000 crores, they got 3 lakh crores. And just because 3 lakh crores is available in the market, that liquidity boosted the market next day. That the market knows that now 3 lakh crores is available on the tap. So this, just to tell you that the markets were there even before SEBI came in. Markets will be there even if SEBI is there or not. But with a better regulator, the market will be regulated better and this thing. the more money will come in. And as far as these allegations are concerned, people feel that that's a separate thing, nothing to concern with the regulatory part of it. If you ask me what I am more worried about it than the accusation from the SEBI chief, I am more worried about whatever verdict on co-location scam which was released last this thing. Now, an intermediary can parallelly equate that with that decision and say that I did something wrong, but nobody benefited out of this, and there was no collusion between anyone. So it is nothing wrong. So don't penalize me. Is it right? So I think I'm sure they would have done their homework. They're very, very well seasoned regulator. I can tell you that we can always criticize the police, but without police, we are not there. So that way, I think out of all the regulators, I would rank RBI and SEBI as far, far better than anyone else. And SEBI has done a great job in the last 26, 25, 26. I think this is the 26th year or 27th year, I think. They've done a great job. I've been part of their secondary market advisory committee earlier. They listened to us, and they are the one which made other people follow, like publication of draft paper for public comments. Take public comments into then they try to incorporate some of it and do that. So the trust on SEBI will always be there in spite of all these allegations. I don't think it is going. There will be small dent here and there, but they will recover fast.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Thank you very much. We always criticize police, but we definitely need police. Police has to be there. Wonderful. Before we move to the next question from Mr. Arun Kaul, I also want to mention that the attempts to simplify the knowledge about financial planning or finance in terms of making it available in vernacular, in terms of making it available in comic language, basically in cartoons, in the language that youngsters or kids would be finding it interesting to read. I think even into the curricula, even into the courses that we study in the school, I think we need to bring this in. And unless and until it is integral to our economy and our nation as a whole, we won't integrate that into our curriculum, right? So, but it is, and therefore it has to be brought in. And like the way when you are in a business school, for example, the way operations are taught is to go through certain terminals and invest money and make sure you are given an opportunity of risk taking and also get to know firsthand where you end up based on your decision making. I think informally, a lot of us are doing that with the children at home increasingly now. But I think in the school also, it should be normalized. It is perfectly okay to talk about money, and only about money we can talk very openly. I think that is also kind of a mindset challenge that we are facing from the education system. I thought I'll make a comment there. And then I'll request Mr. Arun Kaul to open his mic and talk to us. Mr. Kaul.
Good evening, sir. This has been a very interesting talk so far. Before I come to my question, I'll just set a bit of background. You see, when our country became independent, the life expectancy was about 32, 35 years. That is, on an average, an Indian would live up to 32, 35 years. Today, it has gone up to 70 years, 71, 72 years. And it is the way it is going up, and, with the medical facilities and all improving, maybe in another 25, 30 years, it will go beyond 90. Now, the retirement age in India has been around 58. And gradually, some organizations are increasing it to 60 and maybe 62 or whatever. And of course, private sector doesn't have pensions. And in the government also, the pensions are being done away with. Now, my take is that the younger generation today doesn't understand the importance of Provident Fund, whether employee Provident Fund or public Provident Fund. And I've heard many people, in fact, financial advisors saying that, no, don't waste your money, putting it in a provident fund, or, put it in equities. Equities are doing so well, things like that. But I am maybe old school or whatever. I feel that, well, the stock market is booming, but you never know when there's a major correction and, things like that. So I feel that there should be more awareness, more education, especially to the youngsters, that public provident fund or the EPF and the voluntary contribution to EPF is as important as investing in equities, etc. I don't know what is your opinion. I mean, I talk to so many people and they say that no, don't waste your money there in the provident funds. So I thought I'll ask you your opinion, because what I've seen earlier, that even in the government, they are not encouraging people investing in provident fund, which I thought was very surprising on the part of the government. So I would like to have your opinion on it, that what is your opinion on this?
No, I can't agree more with you on this, sir, because it took 20 years for the country to get 4 crore demat account. The first 4 crore demat accounts from 2001, when the Depositories Act of 1996 was passed. 2001, it was made compulsory. 2020, you had 4 crore account. Next 4 years, now you have additional 12 crore accounts. Today, we have more than 16 crore demat accounts. Okay. Which means that this new set of people who have come in the post-COVID, because of COVID, they were sitting at home, no firewall was there. They had two systems to trade, and they had the people in IT, they never lost most of them didn't lose their jobs, so they had money. They were not spending, there was no weekend parties, there was no holiday. So the surplus money went into the market and they've tasted success and they think that the success is going to be permanent. I call them sophomores. But, once they taste a failure 2 times, 2 bulls and 2 bear rallies happens, then they will become matured. We all did. We all went through that. I went through that. All of us went through that success and failure and all those things. My worry is many of them also getting into derivatives. If they get into stocks, even if it is a bad stock, that's a different story. But when they get into the derivatives, then the leveraging happens, and leveraging, once it changes negative, then it becomes very dangerous. Today, one of the mutual fund is sitting on 20% of the total, AUM in cash in one particular scheme. That is because they don't know where to invest, because the market has gone up. But whereas these people invest every day, they trade, and they think they've tasted success. Though this is good on one time. Why it is good? One side it is good because in 2008, when the market crashed because of no fault of us. India was still growing economically. Our GDP was still positive. The census came down from 21,000 to 7,900. Two-thirds is lost because of someone else's fault. The problem of subprime crisis in US, the Dow Jones came down from 14,000 to 7,000. It fell down only by 50%, whereas we fell down by 64%. Because we never had big institutions, domestic institutions, or mutual funds, or individual investors to support the market. Today, that is not happening. You see, the last 1 year, consistently, FIs are selling again and again very frequently. But the market is very robust because of, thanks to these youngsters who have come in, who have faith and trust in the market. Unlike the earlier generation, who had faith only in the fixed return instrument guaranteed by government. These people have the trust and faith in themselves and their spending habits in a way, and they know that all these spending habits will benefit the corporates, the companies, and then the profits will be there and plow back. So let me be part of the success story of India, so I invest in equity. The problem comes when there is a tilted or a skewed allocation of asset, everything into equity. And this generation, most of them are global citizens. They don't buy a house because today they are employed in Bangalore. 3 years later, they in Bombay, then they go to Seattle. So they don't want to buy a house. In our generation, when we bought house, major part of our revenue goes, income goes into EMI. That doesn't happen. That surplus is with them. What will they do? They don't believe in 7% return, which is not good. So they should have a proper asset allocation. In fact, somebody like me, I always keep telling people that don't put all your money into, if you want 80cc benefit, you put in wherever you want. But also additionally, you have a public provident fund account, not to claim Section 80C benefit, but there is no other investment in India as of now, as I know, which has got triple E benefit. Exemption when you invest, exemption when you withdraw, exemption for the interest. Sorry?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, triple E is there. And if you have accumulated 1.5 lakhs every year in the next 30 years, you have more than 1 crore. The entire income generated by is completely tax-free. You don't get any other fixed deposit or anything with such a tax-free income. So I do tell people, and I think there are good financial advisors, fee-only advisors who tell that. If you go to fee-only advisor, probably he will tell you properly and you pay the fee to them. But most of us go to somebody who's got hidden agenda. So that's a problem. I think a good financial advisor will tell you to go for a proper asset allocation, put a part of your money into fixed assets, fixed return instruments, and some into equity, some into bullion, gold, or silver. That's what is the right way to do. I am in agreement with your view that that is not happening. That should happen. Yeah.
You see, we were earlier given the rule that 100 minus your age should go into equity and the rest into debt. Now,
Yeah.
supposing there's a person who's 70 years old, so 100 minus 70 is 30. So people say that no, that formula no longer holds. Is that so?
No, sir. That formula is still there for it's a see. There are always a generalization. There is are exceptions. If you ask my father at the age of 90, when we stopped him to trade, he became ill. Then the doctor told us, family doctor told us, ask him, a couple of lakhs he's going to trade. If we lose or gain, why do you? So his mind got diverted every day. He died at the age of 96, but every day he used to trade. So it depends upon individual to individual. And I don't think one size fits all. Somebody who is at the age of 25 faced a lot of failures in his life and he doesn't have a deep pocket and he has to be very careful with his money and the mindset of safety. Then I don't think the equity is suitable for him. Somebody at the age of 85, 80, 85 was, done all his duty in his life and he has got surplus of a few crores. Then what is wrong if he trades in the equity? So the 100 minus age rule still applies to the majority of the vast majority of the population, but not for there are exceptions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Very
Thank-
useful advice.
Thank you very much, sir, for that perspective, and thank you very much for being that good financial advisor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll quickly take the next question, Dr. Anita, to speak. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Thank you. It was a very, very comprehensive way of looking at financial literacy, wherein you brought in the perspectives from various regulators and then what is available to consume as an individual. Now, you very well pointed out one pain point, which you refer to a taxi driver taking a lot of loan by gut feeling and then going into, debt crisis. No, there are, if you were to look at, there is a, good percentage of such population who perhaps were dropouts. They had entrepreneurial skills in them. They could not sustain because of, lack of financial literacy and the trained skills. To that segment, if I were to ask you, what the initiatives are there, but how do we take it to the grassroots level so that they get benefited? Now, as you rightly mentioned, that information is there on the website, and then you find that which is there in English, which is a vernacular language, would help them. However, there is no format or a structure wherein, these entrepreneurs could be trained, or wherein they can bank upon, or they can say that, okay, I can go here and take the advice. There is no one way, one call away wherein you could get a advice from the government or a trustworthy agency wherein they can just get the information without actually, looking at the authenticity, whether someone is selling me a product or I'm not being hijacked to an intermediary who is going to sell me the products, or for that matter. So any suggestions on that? And I have one more question, maybe I'll ask after this, if time permits.
See, the challenge is in last mile connectivity. There is content, there are enough work done at one end, the other end, people who need it. So the delivery is a problem where one side there is a people who are capable or not able to deliver because there is a conflict of interest. The other set of people who can deliver, there are a few people who are capable of delivering, but not without any conflict of interest. They are not market participants. There are very few, but they are, handful. They are not, they are very, very limited in numbers. So that's one challenge which has to be tackled. The second is about the credibility of the people. The regulators think they are regulator. We also call them only regulator. But if you look at the mandate of most of the regulators, it is also market development. So they do the job of regulation properly, but the market development, that's where the challenge comes in. These are all part of the market development also. So regulator is not only regulator, but is also supposed to do market development. And if they do that part of it properly, I think these kind of things can be, because they are the only credible people in the market. Whatever we comment on them, whatever complaints we have against them, but they are the much more credible people than most of the other market participants or the stakeholders. So they have to do that. The third part is government. Governments are also doing it, but then it is scattered in various segments, MSMEs or a smaller level. These are all too tiny micro levels. So the district industrial centers are there. But, the red tapeism or the mindset of, somebody has come to me for a favor, that kind of attitude. So unless otherwise somebody is very passionate about it, or under CSR, there are a couple of companies, Hitachi. If you look at it, Hitachi is doing something in this space on financial literacy space. So they try to take the school drop, not only in financial literacy, a comprehensive development of school dropouts. Hitachi CSR initiative is there. So something like that happens in a concerted manner. it can do. But otherwise, it is going to be a major challenge. It is not only a challenge in India, but it is a challenge in many other countries too.
Great.
So,
Great. Thank you.
in that context, if I may ask, what is the role of a educational institution to perhaps bridge this gap when we are, when you get a tie-up or, some kind of a facility, a window wherein could handhold them or they could handhold us. We are handholding the entrepreneurs, but the support is coming from the government or a regulator who is helping in capacity building or there's life skills that you said which are mandatory and required. What is that role we could play, or how can we leverage as a platform to help the future entrepreneurs?
No, you're absolutely right. I think this is one very good distribution channel for them, even if they look at it as a business from the business angle. Okay, but set that aside. I think these are the right people, right set of people, because industry, academy, and regulator on one side. This is a good integration which can happen. And today, most of the educational institutions are for profit. I mean, they don't call themselves for profit organization, but there is a commercial interest in it. So I think like every corporate has got a CSR. I think institutions jointly with SEBI or RBI or IRDA can do this part of it. And not only that, the investment part of it, but the entrepreneurs part of it can be done only with the help of the state government, and certain other institutions can certainly play an important role in this particular area. For example, if you take in Tamil Nadu, the skill development, Apex skill development centers are there in 5 different areas. Now they are planning to bring it in more other areas also. BFSI, it is there. So they try to bridge the gap between what the industry needs and what is taught in the college with the help of some of the institutions. They try to do. So the skill development initiatives with now central skill development, what they do, they are coming out with impact funds. Now impact funds are very, very important because it is not like a government or a political system announces a scheme, gives some 100 crores, gives it to 10 institutions, have 10 crores each, try to do something and come back. The politician comes and inaugurates it and goes. And impact funds are different. Many of you may know it, but for for those who may not know, probably I just tell you that what this impact skill development impact fund has done with the central government, that skill development is the department, is that as and when they produce a result, there are 3 parts to it. They have to train people, and they have to place them, and then they have to retain the retention period of 6 months minimum. So if I am taking someone and training him to become impart a skill for him in a particular sector, now the training is first part, then placement is second part. Then in that job, he should be retained by that organization for 6 months. Then based on that, if the cost is 100 rupees, I don't mind giving you 150 rupees. Instead of you coming and asking me before doing all these things, you tell me 100 rupees is the cost, subsidize me for 75 rupees. Now, what I am telling is that I'll give you 150 rupees, more than what you have spent, but prove me all these 3 steps. Now, this is something which is very interesting happening in impact fund area, where there are a lot of foreign organizations which are willing to bring in money based because the results are produced, it is proven. Then they don't mind paying even more. So I think that something like that can be worked out, because there is a apprehension among the government, various departments, that we give money, we tie up with private institutions or even government institutions, but the money is not spent wisely or properly. They show us some numbers, some pictures, some photographs, and some training, and they tell us some numbers. So a sort of a credibility issue is there. So that has to be addressed. That can be addressed this way. So impact funds are some very good options which you can, and any institution can explore to take this kind of trainings forward, because you're also rewarded, and there is an incentive to you in this.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the detailed response. We'll request Mr. Mohan Kumar to ask his question.
So this is Mohan Kumar Ramakrishnan, and thanks for the excellent session. And to say about Sir's viewpoint on banks are not coming in the way to educate people like the regulator of capital markets, SEBI. In a way, it's true, because I've been in the banking system for the last 13 years with 3 nationalized banks, and presently empaneled with SEBI as a smart trainer. What I feel, sir, leaving aside the regulators and institutions, if you take the angle of academia, can we just bring in a mandatory merit for all sections, like irrespective of whether they are a commerce student or a science student or an art student? CGPA is calculated on a credit merit basis. Can we mandate or can we add a point in the education system, like how we have the new education policies coming in? Because we do have certain things for moral education, we do have certain things for sports education. Like, can we have a merit for financial education, and can that be made mandatory? Can MOE and MOF can combine together to do this, so that that child will educate his father, who is a rickshaw driver, about when he wants to buy a loan from a loan app for too much of interest rate. So when we do this from the scratch level, I think we can achieve a bigger financial literacy on a whole. The views about the guest for this part.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, sir. I think we don't know what kind of objections will come from people, but then I think if it is made mandatory, it will be good for the country. It will be good for the institutions and intermediaries, as well as apart from the concerned person or the citizens. It is good for the entire nation. It should be made mandatory, not only not at college level. I feel that it should be made mandatory at school level across all. The one resistance what we found when we called the teachers for training, 54 teachers came from the corporation schools in 2008 for to be trained for pocket money course. All the schools, 54 square, I mean, so 26 schools, each one of them sent 2 students. All of them sent commerce teachers. We didn't realize that they'll be doing this. Then I told them that we don't mind teaching your science teachers, because if a science teacher understands this and goes and teaches a student, it will be far better than a commerce student, because most of the commerce teachers will know more than 50-80% of whatever we have been teaching. We are only teaching the methodology of teaching, probably. Otherwise, they know the subject very well. So they take the others also know very well. The best thing to communicate, to reach out to others, is that you put yourself in that shoes. An excellent communicator is a person who is not very smart or very intelligent. Somebody as dumb as me, people ask me that, in vernacular, I'm able to communicate how. So I put myself in their shoe, how I was 10 years back, I was not able to understand. Had somebody told me this in such a simple language to me like this, I would have understood this. So then I start, doing that, and then there, I'm able to communicate well or better than many others, not because I'm intelligent or smart. I'm dumb. That's how I'm able to, understand how, I don't want to use that word, but I'm saying that, how a common man will feel. So I think that is very important, and it should be taught across, in fact, they were telling us that they're going to teach only to nine students. They thought that they are it is too, advanced for them. 10 students are going to appear for public exam. +2 students are going to appear for public exam. Only for +1, they will be able to teach, and that too only to commerce students. We said this book is written for 8th standard student. Pocket money is written for 7th and 8th standard students. And they at 8th or 9th, they learn about algebra and balancing the equations and organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, everything, which is much more complicated than money. But this is a mindset. So there is a mindset change needed at the teachers level and at parents level, much more than the students. But it should be made compulsory, sir. I am with you on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Requesting Mr. Santosh quickly to read out the question that he has typed. Mr. Santosh.
Sir, I have one question from Mr. Mohan Kumar. So Mohan Kumar, is he in Chennai or where is he, sir?
Yeah, I'm in Chennai, sir. I'm attending your class from my studio at Virkambakam.
Okay, you can share your number later, sir. I need, to do these kind of programs. I'll take your help on it. Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Santosh.
Thank you, Sudhakar, sir. Vanakkam, sir. I'm also from Tamil Nadu, basically from Trichy. I have a question. So in today's market, the financial literacy has gone up wide range, but still we have certain products like insurance, which is missold as investment, which is neither a good insurance nor a good investment product. And what's your opinion on it? And what do you think regulatory bodies should do about it? Thank you, sir.
We've spoken enough about this, and we have also made representations, after which they reduced the commission on some of these products. But even today, it is 5% plus. Okay. Whereas in mutual fund, it is about 1% or so. In equities, it is, almost zero. So people are tempted to sell a product which pays them more. Today, banks are not doing their core job of banking properly. That's why it results in all bad debts and NPAs going up. The banks are selling something which is totally not connected to them, where they lack knowledge. They cannot compete with me in selling insurance, or they cannot compete with me in selling a mutual fund, because of my knowledge is, I mean, with all humility, I can tell you that is better than an average bank officer, because he's posted in different districts, transferred very frequently, is not allowed to learn, is not allowed to read, and that is not their core business. And their banks are asked to sell gold, which is not again that. So you have to leave it to jewelers. And bank have to borrow at low cost and lend at high cost. I'm sorry, that's not happening. But now probably the shift will happen slowly because they're realizing the deposits are not coming to the bank. If you look at the Friday figure, even today, I think the figure must have been released. The growth of credit is high, the growth of deposits are low. So they have to focus on that business. So I think mis-selling happens at bank. I have this case of one PSU where their own group company, they are sitting there and trying to market their ULIP when the people come to renew their fixed deposit, because in fixed deposit, they don't get enough commission. They get more, I mean, they don't get anything at all, but there they get commission in selling this ULIP. So they have a tie-up and it's their own group company, but they are trying to sell the that ULIP and promising that it's enough you pay for 5 years. And when the document comes, the document says that you have to pay for 7 years. And this man goes and asks, the dispute goes on. And in the meanwhile, that 1 month look-in period is over. They see to that 1 month look-in period is over by engaging with you. Then after that, you go, they say that you cannot surrender it, that person is transferred. So this kind of mis-selling happens, particularly when you see that, sir, how algorithm is used, how data is used. If you have zero balance in your account, you won't get any calls, or you will get a call for loan. If you have a couple of lakhs in your bank account, you will get calls from them for investment options. So they know, they are tracking you. So this has to be stopped, and the regulators. That way, SEBI is a very strict regulator. IRDA is a lenient regulator, I would say that. I don't think that they are controlling the mis-selling. They should control the commissions paid to the people. They are not able to do it probably because India is still an underinsured country. So they don't want to touch that part, but probably they may look at it at some point of time.
Thank you, sir. Whatever you said definitely happened in my own father's life. Like he had a retirement corpus in one of the PSUs, and those guys called him and they sold this product, and he happily showed it to me after a month where the lookup period is already over. And I tried explaining him all this, but in spite of all that, like those guys are very adamant and telling him, convincing him that this is one of the best products. Where you want to withdraw it. Being a chartered accountant myself, I couldn't convince my father. And today, financial literacy is more important with people who are elderly, who have enough corpus. They are taken for a ride on all these products. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insights on this.
See, that's why, Mr. Sudhakar, see, the policy I was mentioning about giving these policy documents in vernacular, which is not happening. And simplification of these policy documents is not happening. They give 20, 30-page document, which most of us don't understand what it is. It should be only 1 page, not more than that. They give more space for disclaimers. And that too written in a language which most of us don't understand. So this is where the financial literacy plays an important role.
Amazing, sir. Amazing. I think this has been a very good journey for us in terms of learning. It's been eye-opening for all of us on various accounts in terms of the touch points for improving financial literacy, and also touch points where there are pains. It has roles to play from various participants and stakeholders in the society, both institutional as well as family related touch points. I think today the number of questions that we have got is much more, and we are not able to take all the questions. What we'll do is we'll probably write to you and seek your answers.
Yes,
if it is possible at your convenience, you can respond by email. But I want to thank all the enthusiastic participants for raising these very, very good questions. We have actually gone beyond the stipulated time. Thank you so much, sir. With patience, you have stayed back and responded to all the queries. But one interesting point, apart from the many takeaways that you have given, apart from the great room for development, potential to improve in the vernacular part of building, updating, and distributing the content for financial literacy, and the role that institutions will have to play. Apart from that, one interesting comment that you made is during the post-COVID rise of demat accounts, that is youngsters with more income, disposable income coming into trading circuit. You said 2 bears and 2 bulls, they'll become normal in the sense they become more wiser. So that's very interesting. I think people like you and more people who are wiser, people who have been there, done that, will be able to call the bull before they bear the brunt of it. And I think this is the way it has to move on. More such sessions are required, not just for those who are captive in the class, but like the current audience that is outside the class. They are working professionals from around the country. A lot of them are chartered accountants, practicing managers, people from education and technology. They're trying to see, even some fintech people have attended and trying to see what kind of roles they can play. Overall, it's a great session, sir. I want to thank you for providing this very, very interesting talk over the last so many minutes that you spent with us. It is I think from 6:30 to 8 now, completely we are engrossed in the discussion with you. On behalf of everyone, I want to thank you for your time and expertise in dealing with this subject.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhakar, and thank you, Dr. Prasad.
I'll request you to share your PPT, sir, because we are attempting a summary. Some bullet
I'll do
points
that.
will be useful for
I'll
us
do
in structuring the summary.
Yes.
You won't miss out anything. Of course, we'll have the recorded video. Once you approve the text summary, we will upload it on our website, and that's the normal process that we undertake. So on behalf of everyone, I want to thank you, sir, once again, and we look forward to interacting with you and learning from you as time permits.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, have a great weekend. And before that, go and understand what kind of information and content is already there in various websites, starting with the regulators and various other agencies. And I think a great deal is for us to uncover what is already existing. And then, of course, changing the mindsets is a very, very important challenge and hurdle that we'll have to cross. So have a great weekend. Also a good night. Thank you.